Planet Institute.
Welcome to today's R&D Unplugged, a podcast from the Learning Planet Institute dedicated to discussing with researchers on the impact of their work in a simple way. My name is Annalena, I'm your host of today. Today's guest is Caroline Muron. She's a medical doctor, PhD, and INSERM researcher at the Learning Planet Institute. Welcome, Caroline.
Thank you.
So, your research focuses on developmental coordination disorder. You mainly use cognitive and participatory approaches to understand what makes things challenging for these children and how to better support them at school. But before we go deeper into this, and I will ask more questions about that research, let me ask the following maybe less conventional question first. If your research had a theme song, what would it be and why?
So it's not an easy question, but I was deeply moved by Lucky Love's performance at the opening ceremony of the Paris 2025 Paralympic Games, where he adapted his song Masculinity into My Ability.
What about my own ability? What the hell is wrong with my body? Am I not enough?
Lucky Love is an artist who was born without his left arm and experienced a lot of rejection and bullying as a child because of it. In this song, he highlights how people with disabilities are often seen as less capable, less competent, and he questions these representations. This really resonates with my research because I try to show that a child with a disability can also be a competent and successful learner. So I really encourage listeners to watch this performance on YouTube. He is joined by a group of dancers with disabilities, and together, through the beauty and power of their performance, they demonstrate that disability is anything but being less. Unfortunately, My Ability is not yet available on streaming platform, but you can listen to Masculinity, the original version of the song, which speaks about another form of discrimination.
Thank you. That sounds really interesting. I didn't see it at all. We will put it in the description, the YouTube link for all our listeners, so that they can take a look at it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. So now, first question, more focusing on your research. What inspired you to pursue this particular research topic?
First of all, one of my daughters was diagnosed with developmental coordination disorder when she was 4 years old. And I was immediately confronted with the fact that in the French school system, there was nothing available to help her learning without handwriting. So the question for me was, can I keep working as a researcher in these conditions? The solution I found was to start creating digital version of the exercises she had to do in class so she could complete them at school on a computer instead of handwriting. At that time, my research actually focused on memory in schizophrenia. So I began developing these digital tools on the side. Pretty quickly, I realized that what I was creating for my daughter could also help other children. So I founded an association called Le Cartable Fantastique, whose mission is to develop resources that make school life easier for children with DCD. Then my team leader, Ghislaine Dehaene, suggested that I change my research topic entirely and focus on DCD. I was working in Stanislas Dehaene's lab, where there was already research going on about other learning disorders such as dyslexia and dyscalculia, so adding DCD made perfect sense. Around that time, Ghislaine told me about a dyslexic child in a neuroimaging study who said to her, I got -40 on my spelling test. And at that moment, I thought, we've been doing fundamental research on dyslexia for over 20 years, and yet the everyday life of dyslexic children at school haven't really changed. That's when I decided that my work on DCD should aim to improve the daily lives of the children concerned, not just to advance scientific knowledge, but to make a real difference at school.
I think it's beautiful. Thank you. I think sometimes research just stays in university, so it's really nice to see that you have this aim to really change the life of these kids. And maybe as information for our listeners, you mentioned that the handwriting was a problem. This is actually something that a lot of children have who have developmental coordination disorder, that they have problems with the handwriting. Just maybe as a background information for the listeners, and that why it's important to offer them another tool then. So from this really personal inspiration you got there, how does your research contribute now to the issues you mentioned already and that the world is facing right now?
So my research focuses directly on the issue of school inclusion for children with disabilities. The idea is to provide tools that allow children with DCD to learn at school. So we aim to create impact at several levels. First, we want to restore equal opportunities and give these children access to a quality education that supports their future social and professional inclusion. We want to allow them to truly engage in school activities without being held back by their disabilities. So, by doing this, we will have a direct impact on their mental health, self-esteem, and overall quality of life. Studies show that the use of assistive technologies not only increases autonomy and engagement in school, but also helps reduce the stigma these children often face. By giving them the means to show their true abilities, we also aim to change teachers' perception of what children with disabilities can actually achieve. Finally, by enabling children to work in the classroom at the same time as their classmates and on the same skills, even if they do it using different tools such as a computer instead of a notebook and pencil, we also help to ease the burden on their mothers, who otherwise often have to redo schoolwork with them in the evening. So our research has a direct impact not only on the well-being of mothers, but also on their professional trajectories. Each of these objectives has been the focus of specific studies.
Okay, thanks. I think that really shows how important it is and why, not just for the children, but also for the mothers. I think that's also really a challenge. We might forget sometimes. So maybe you could explain a bit what were some of the key findings or the insights you got through your research.
One of the first series of studies we carried out came from the difficulties in mathematics often reported in children with DCD. At the time, health professionals will often recommend that these children avoid educational paths involving maths. However, through contact with families and young adults, I realized that several of them were actually pursuing high-level scientific studies, which clearly contradicted that recommendation. So we conducted experimental psychology studies to look more closely at the basic numerical skills of children with DCD aged between 7 and 10. The results showed that many of them had difficulties comparing numbers, whether the numbers were presented in symbolic form, like Arabic digit, or in non-symbolic form, like sets of objects. They also had difficulties with arithmetic operation and counting objects. In other words, basic numerical skills seemed to be disrupted in a number of these children. But at the same time, the studies also showed that they were perfectly able to understand mathematical concepts. Using a number line task where children have to estimate where a number should go on a line from 0 to 100, we showed that they understood the concept of linearity, the idea that the distance between 1 and 2 is the same as between 98 and 99, and used it to solve the task. That's not the case for children with intellectual disability, for instance. So what this result suggests is that even though children with DCD may have difficulty with calculation, they don't necessarily have difficulties with understanding maths. Therefore, we shouldn't block their progress at the level of basic operation. Instead, we should give them tools like calculators that allow them to go further and access higher level concepts in maths. If we want children to learn at school, we need to provide them with adapted support, such as adapted textbooks, for instance. We are about to complete a 4-year project carried out in collaboration with artificial intelligence and digital accessibility researchers, focusing on how to automatically adapt school textbooks for children with DCD. Indeed, in France, textbooks are widely used in classrooms. For children with DCD to be able to use them effectively, we need to take into account both the challenges with eye movement coordination and visuospatial information processing and their handwriting difficulties. At Le Cartable Fantastique, we adapt textbook by transforming exercises such as copy the sentences and circle the verbs into digital exercises like, in these sentences, click on the verbs. To manage visual accessibility, we only display one sentence per screen. This way, children with DCD work on the same skill as their classmates, identifying verbs in sentences, but simply use a different tool. The problem is that adapting a textbook in this way takes about 3 months, which makes it difficult to meet the overall demand given the large number of textbooks used in France. The collaboration between researchers from different fields made it possible to create a prototype that starts directly from the PDF version of a school textbooks. Then it combined computer vision and natural language processing model to extract the exercises, categorize their different components such as the instruction, statements, examples or hints, and from this enriched file to automatically determine the type of adaptation needed. For example, an exercise might be transformed into a multiple choice format or into a fill-in-the-blank activity that can be completed using a keyboard. At this stage, the prototype can automatically adapt primary school language textbooks. Further work will be needed to extend this adaptation to mathematics textbooks. There are the children, but there are also the parents that have to raise the children and to help them in the school system and to live in our world. So another series of studies conducted with Léa Chofki, PhD student, and Émilie Capet focused on the impact on French parents of raising a child with DCD. We used standardized online questionnaires to assess mental health and quality of life of the parents. A total of 180 parents took part, with 171 mothers and only 9 fathers, which is already a finding on itself. Our results show increased symptoms of anxiety and depression among mothers and a decrease in their quality of life across all dimensions, physical, mental, and social. Interviews conducted with 20 volunteer mothers revealed that these difficulties are linked to a lack of support from health professionals and to the constant struggle required to ensure that their children receive the necessary accommodation at schools. These results are important because they highlight that failing to meet the needs of children with DCD within the school system not only has a major impact on the children themselves, but also puts their mother's well-being at risk. Given these consequences, it becomes clear that there is an urgent need to improve the inclusion of these children in schools. So if we want an inclusive school, we need to work on the representation of disabilities at school. This became especially clear when I worked directly with the Ministry of National Education on exam accommodation for candidates with disabilities. I encountered barriers I simply could not overcome, no matter what arguments I use. That's why, when I was contacted by the Cour des Comptes, a French independent public audit institution that evaluates public policies and spending, in the context of a report on inclusive schooling, I proposed to conduct a study on educator representation of disability. This work was carried out in collaboration with 2 researcher colleagues, Odile Romer and Michael Jury. We looked at both explicit representation, those we are aware of, and implicit representation, those we are not, focusing on the links between disability and competence. The results show that at the explicit level, students with disabilities tend to be perceived as warm, but less competent. Moreover, using an implicit association task, we demonstrated that teachers are inclined to automatically associate disability with incompetence rather than with competence. Altogether, these findings show that there is still a great deal of work to be done to change the representation associated with students with disability if we want the school student to truly embrace the idea that a student with a disability can also be a competent learner.
Wow, thank you. That was a great overview of actually several studies you did, ranging really from the math to the tools you develop, but also including the parents and ending with a great call of action, also for the governments, for the decision maker, to really make school a truly inclusive place, also for these children. You already made kind of the bridge between research and real life through these examples, but maybe we can ask for one more example or one question more. Do you have any anecdote or story where your research directly impacted or changed someone's life? Maybe an example of a student or a parent, a teacher. Does something comes to your mind?
The tool developed by Le Cartable Fantastique and the adapted digital textbooks truly changed children's life. I mean, we invited some children here and we saw their faces light up when they discovered the adapted digital textbooks, the one where they could actually do the exercises themselves. For the first time, they could finally show what they were capable of. So they understood it immediately and you could see the relief on their faces.
That's beautiful. I think that's the best reward for your work, actually, to see this lightening up of the kids, because in the end of the day, that's why we do it. Amazing. Thank you for this little anecdote. So now to my last question. Let's pretend I'm 20 years old and I want to change the world for the better. Why should I engage in research? And why should I choose your specific research topic?
I think research allows us to conceptualize problems, difficulties, and to design innovative solutions. So in these fields, both aspects are critical. Understanding the challenges and creating practical responses, because together they help us build solutions that truly meet the needs of children with DCD. And the reasons why it's worth engaging in this area of research is that helping these children also means contributing to the creation of a more inclusive school system and ultimately a more inclusive society.
I hope we have some decision makers out there or some people who sit in some really important positions, because I think this is a great call for action. This should be our end goal, to make our schools the most inclusive, give these children the same chances than to anyone, and to just adapt school to their specific needs. I love that. Thank you for this, and I think that wraps up today's episode perfectly. I'm Annalena Neurohr, I'm your host. A huge thank you to our guest Caroline Huron for sharing her valuable insights and expertise with us. There were so many examples, so many research results. I think it was truly inspiring. Thank you for that. And also a big thank you to all our listeners who joined us for today's episode. R&D Unplugged is a Learning Plan Institute podcast. This episode was produced by Annalena Neurohr and Shahab Nastar, with recording and editing by Jean-Marc Sauvin. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. You can find all of our podcasts and further information about all our activities on our website at learningplanetinstitute.org/podcasts. That's it. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time.
Learning Planet Institute.